Barry Darsow just revealed 5 players he absolutely can't stand. And trust me, the stories behind this list are full of drama. So let's dive right in and see who made it to the list. 1. The Road Warriors. Barry Darsow's battles with the Road Warriors were some of the most intense and memorable of his wrestling career. When he was Smash in Demolition alongside Axe in the WWF, he faced Hawk and Animal in matches that were all about raw power and destruction. Both teams had face paint, both had a fierce presence in the ring, and both were known for leaving everything in the squared circle. From the start, it was clear that neither team was going to back down. Darsow hated how the Road Warriors could dominate the ring with their sheer strength and speed. No matter how hard he and Axe hit them, Hawk and Animal always seemed to come back stronger, and that pushed Darsow to the limit every single match. The rivalry continued when Darsow moved to the NWA and JCP as Crusher Khrushchev, teaming with Ivan or Nikita Koloff. The matches were different, but just as brutal. Now the conflict had even more personal stakes because it was about proving dominance in another major promotion. Darsow hated facing the Road Warriors in this era because they were bigger, faster, and even more intimidating than before. The Koloffs and Darsow would use strategy and teamwork to try to isolate one of the Warriors, but Hawk and Animal's chemistry and experience made them nearly impossible to stop. Every encounter was chaotic and punishing, and the crowd loved it, which only frustrated Darsow more because he felt like he was constantly being challenged and tested. What made the rivalry even more interesting was that it spanned multiple companies. Facing the same opponents in both the WWF and NWA made Darsow feel like he could never truly get the upper hand. Every match had its own story, its own twists, and its own moments where the outcome seemed uncertain. Darsow hated the challenge because the Road Warriors never played fair in the sense that they always found a way to make the fight about more than just the wrestling. Their reputation, presence, and intensity made him feel like he had to be perfect every time he entered the ring. Despite the hatred in the ring, Darsow later admitted that facing the Road Warriors pushed him to become a better performer. The rivalry demanded everything from him and taught him how to combine power, psychology, and teamwork in a way few other feuds could. It was a rivalry filled with action, strategy, and emotion, and it remains one of the most iconic in his career. 2. Spell Powers of Pain. Barry Darsow's rivalry with the Powers of Pain was one of the most dramatic moments of his career, especially during his time as Smash in Demolition. From the very beginning, the matches were built on pure intensity. The Powers of Pain, Warlord and Barbarian, were massive, imposing, and relentless in the ring. Darsow hated how unstoppable they seemed. Every time he and Axe faced them, it felt like he was going up against a wall of power that refused to move. The crowd felt the tension too. Every slam, every clothesline, every back and forth made fans sit on the edge of their seats. Darsow knew that losing even a moment of focus could mean disaster in the ring. The feud became unforgettable when it led to the famous double turn at Survivor Series 1988. Going into that event, Demolition were still villains in the eyes of the fans. They were feared and respected as destructive machines who dominated every match they were in. The Powers of Pain, managed by Mr. Fuji, were positioned as fan favorites. But the crowd's reaction began to shift. When the team squared off at Survivor Series, something special happened. The audience started cheering for Demolition and booing the Powers of Pain and Mr. Fuji. Darsow hated that feeling at first because it was unpredictable, but he also loved the energy it brought to the match. The moment changed the direction of the feud completely. From that point on, Demolition became the babyfaces, and the Powers of Pain were the heels. That switch added even more fire to every encounter. Darsow now had to fight not only the physical threat of Warlord and Barbarian, but also the psychological challenge of standing out as the hero in the eyes of the fans. Every match was high stakes. He had to show toughness, resilience, and charisma while taking on two of the most dominant forces in wrestling at that time. 3. ML Rock and Roll Express. Barry Darsow's battles with the Rock and Roll Express were some of the most fast-paced and exciting matches of his career. As Crusher Khrushchev, Teaming with Ivan Koloff, he faced Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson in the NWA and JCP, and from the very first encounter, the intensity was off the charts. The Rock and Roll Express were lightning fast, full of energy, and incredibly clever in the ring. Darsow hated how unpredictable they were. One moment, you could have Khrushchev cornering Morton, and the next, Morton or Gibson would find a way to slip out, hit a quick combination, and leave Khrushchev frustrated and off balance. The rivalry centered on the NWA World Tag Team Championship, which only added to the pressure. Every match felt like a battle for dominance and respect. Khrushchev and Koloff were powerful, intimidating, and methodical, trying to use their size and strength to control the match. The Rock and Roll Express countered with speed, teamwork, and smart tactics that always kept Darsow on edge. He hated that no matter how much power he brought to the fight, the Express always had a plan and seemed one step ahead in the moment. The matches were fast, chaotic, and full of near falls that kept the crowd screaming. There was also a personal element to the feud. Darsow and Koloff felt like the Express were constantly getting the fans on their side, no matter how rough they were in the ring. It drove Khrushchev crazy because the crowd's energy often shifted momentum in favor of the smaller team. Every time they scored a hot tag or pulled off a quick reversal, Darsow felt the sting of having his control undermined. The rivalry became about more than just the title. It was about proving who could dominate in the ring and who could survive the relentless pace and unpredictability of the Express. The series of matches went on for months and built a story that fans still remember. The Rock and Roll Express pushed Darsow to be sharper, faster, and more adaptable. Even though he hated facing them because they were such a challenge, he also respected their skill and chemistry. Their battles were a perfect example of power versus speed and strategy, and the intensity of their rivalry made every match feel like a must-watch event. For Darsow, the feud with the Rock and Roll Express was exhausting, frustrating, and thrilling all at the same time, and it left a lasting mark on his career. 4. Darsow's early rivalry with Strikeforce was one of the key moments that helped establish Demolition as a dominant tag team in the WWF. As Smash, teaming with Axe, Darsow faced Tito Santana and Rick Martel, and from the very beginning, the matches were intense and full of energy. Strikeforce was fast, technically skilled, and had excellent teamwork. Darsow hated how they could anticipate every move and counter it with precision. Every match felt like a mental battle as much as a physical one, because Strikeforce made sure to stay one step ahead whenever possible. The rivalry really heated up leading into WrestleMania 4. Demolition had their eyes set on the WWF World Tag Team Championship, and Strikeforce were the defending champions. Every encounter before that event was about positioning, strategy, and proving who truly belonged at the top. Darsow and Axe relied on their raw power, using brute force to try to dominate their opponents, while Strikeforce countered with speed, coordination, and quick tags that kept the team from being cornered for long. Darsow hated how frustrating it was to face a team that could make his strength less effective by simply working together. At WrestleMania 4, everything came to a head. Demolition managed to defeat Strikeforce to capture their first WWF World Tag Team Championship. For Darsow, it was a huge victory, but the feud itself was what left the biggest impression. He hated how challenging Strikeforce had made every match leading up to the title win. They tested his endurance, his timing, and his ability to work as a cohesive partner with Axe. Every slam, every reversal, every near fall made the victory feel earned, and it solidified Demolition's reputation as a team that could take on anyone and come out on top. 5. Dustin Rhodes. Barry Darsow's feud with Dustin Rhodes as the Blacktop Bully was brief but intense and full of drama. In WCW, Darsow's character was rough, aggressive, and a little unpredictable, which made him the perfect opponent for Dustin Rhodes. Rhodes had already built a strong reputation as a fighter with heart and determination, and Darsow hated the way Rhodes could get under his skin, both in the ring and with the crowd. Every time they faced off, it felt like the tension could explode at any moment, because both men were willing to push the limits to come out on top. Their rivalry really came to life with the build-up to Uncensored 1995. The story leading up to the match painted the Blacktop Bully as a dangerous force that Rhodes needed to overcome. Darsow enjoyed the intensity of this feud because it allowed him to play a character who could dominate physically, but also use mind games to frustrate his opponent. Rhodes, on the other hand, refused to be intimidated. Every promo, every confrontation, and every encounter in the ring built the anticipation for their infamous King of the Road match. The King of the Road match itself was a unique and chaotic moment in wrestling history. It took place inside a moving truck and pushed both men to their physical and mental limits. Darsow hated that the match demanded so much from him because being confined in a truck made controlling the fight unpredictable and dangerous. Every bump, every maneuver, and every moment of close contact felt amplified. Rhodes used the setting to his advantage, striking quickly and taking risks that kept Darsow on edge. The feud came to life in this match because it was about more than just wins and losses. It was about survival, dominance, and proving who could control a chaotic environment. Even though the feud was brief, it left a lasting impression on fans and on Darsow himself. He hated how relentless Rhodes could be, but he also respected his skill and tenacity. The Blacktop Bully versus Dustin Rhodes showed how a short but well-executed rivalry could create memorable moments that people still talk about years later. And that's a wrap for today's video. Be sure to hit like and subscribe so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching.